Hello and welcome back to our Yakuza 4 Remastered playthrough. Thank you, Saejima. In our last episode, our present protagonist Saejima washed up on the beach right outside of Morning Glory Orphanage after his prison break, which was extremely convenient for him. Needless to say, Mame, the Shibu Inu, and Haruka very swiftly found him and dragged him into the orphanage, where they took care of him while he slept off his little bit of fatigue. And when he woke up, Kiryu decided to interview him. Yeah, that's just going to keep doing that until we do something. So yes, Kiryu interviewed him. Saejima decided that it was best to just give him a false name, but Kiryu very quickly deduced that something was off. They had a little fight on the beach, and he collapsed, and Saejima collapsed once more because he was still, and is still, recovering from his wounds and miraculous escape. Kiryu quietly helped him get to Kamurocho, and he is currently in the process of searching for who I assume is the Florist of Sai, who was mentioned to us by our good friend Kido over here, who has very kindly said that his place here beneath the theatre district is ours to use as we see fit. So, as Saejima has insisted on saying, let's go see if we can find a Florist of Sai after we see what these people are on about. Saejima says, "Excuse me, know where I can find an info broker?" Homeless man asks, "Who, me? No, I don't know a thing." Saejima says, "All right. Mind letting me by so I can ask someone who does?" Homeless man replies, "No one's up ahead. You'd just be wasting your time. I'd look elsewhere if I was you." Oh, so that's how it's going to be, is it? Saejima says, "You're getting in the way standing there like that." Angry homeless man says, "You won't believe this. I found 1,000 yen on the ground in the underground mall. A whole 1,000. Saejima says, "Wow, that's damn near a fortune." Angry homeless man says, "I know, right? Then suddenly, while I wasn't looking, this little shit came up and the money was gone." Saejima asks, "You lost your cash taking a shit?" Angry homeless man says, "No, I mean a pint-sized pickpocket in the underground mall. There I was, freaking about what I'd do if anyone tried to mug me, when a child ran up and snatched it away." "You're fast, right? Then go on, catch that thief for me. Catch him and teach him a lesson." Saejima says, "Gotta say, the only lesson that needs learning here is for you to hold onto your shit better. Let it go. Let it go, let it go. Disney copyright." Angry homeless man says, "Wow, that's just cold. I hope it goes after you next." Saejima thinks to himself, a little kid's picking pockets in the underground mall. Sounds like a shitstorm waiting to happen. Oh well. Right now, let's see what these people and their cat want. That is one erect tail. Friendly homeless man says, "Here, kitty kitty, we've got some fish for you." Surly homeless man says, "Wants a beer?" Huh. Darn things just won't warm up to me. Cat-loving homeless man says, "Oh, you guys aren't seeing cat's eye to cat's eye with him. Watch and learn." Meow. The striped kitten goes. Surly homeless man says, "Yeah, I didn't think so." Cat-loving homeless man says, "That's odd. My old cat Miko would always come right up to me when I did that." Friendly homeless man says, if they won't let us touch them, we can't check their injuries and we can't fix them up. The surly homeless man says, huh? What are you looking at? Friendly homeless man says, hey, take it easy, fellas. Say, pal, are you a cat lover? Saejima says, cats, huh? Cat-loving homeless man asks, you are? That's great! Can you do something about these cats? Saejima says, whoa there, I didn't say I was a cat lover. Friendly homeless man says, oh, that's okay. Anyway, we just found these little guys, but unfortunately they're not letting any of us touch them. Saejima says, yeah, but... Cat-loving homeless man says, they look like they're hurt. We only want to patch them up if we can. Friendly homeless man says, it must be fate, you showing up like this. Could you try taming these little fellas? Cat-loving homeless man says, yeah, please. If we don't act fast, they'll get weaker and weaker. You're our only hope, and theirs. Saejima asks, you want me to tame a bunch of cats, huh? Why the hell not? Saejima says, alright, why the hell not? Guess I'll see what I can do. Cat-loving homeless man says, great, we're counting on you. Okay, cats, do you happen to know where the Florist of I is? Saejima thinks to himself, little fella's really giving me what for. Now what do I do? I'm going to choose this option because I am just that curious. I'm going to cry like a girl. Saejima thinks to himself, maybe these kitties will open up to me if I act like a sweet little crying girl. Ugh. The striped kitten says, me? Saejima says, nah, fuck it, let me try again. Yes, he's really giving you what for. Now, what do you do? Meow like a kitten would probably be the best. Right? Saejima says, probably ought to try speaking their own language. The kitten has no idea what to say. Saejima says, meow. The striped kitten meows back. Saejima thinks to himself, seems like it finally dropped its guard. The cat-loving homeless man says, wow, you're good. Poor things wouldn't even give me the time of day. Saejima says, they don't look like they're doing too good. Cat-loving homeless man says, we got to get some nutrition into these little guys. Surly homeless man says, bah, a drink could patch them right up. Friendly homeless man says, I hate to ask, but could you buy these kittens something you think they'd like? Saejima says to himself, suppose I can't back out now. I'll get him something real nutritious like... fuck, I don't know. Guess... although... Let's see how they do with milk. Saejima says, wait here. You've got to offer lost cats some milk. I'll go pick some up. Sure, unless I can get to the Florist of I. Oh. Sugakawa says, Minamita-san's machine is incredible. I swear the second I get into it, I can perfectly recreate that amazing scene I pulled off before. But man, is he really that famous? I've never heard of him before. Someone the other day was going on and on and on about him being some famous developer or whatever. IF7. Minamita, the legendary game inventor, has relocated to the Theatre Underground and undertaken the development of a new project in the IF7. A year ago, he said that he was invited to work at a small game company, but on the side, He has made it his life's work to develop a new project for the IF-7. That's also now a memo. Tsukagawa says, anyway, you should give it a try too. It's crazy, but in a good way, you know. Seriously, go give it a spin. We got 500 experience points. Alright, Christopher Lloyd, what have you got to say? The man in white says, who are you? Do you need something? Saejima asks, what's this machine with the electric chair? And more importantly, who are you? The man in white says, my name is Minamita, of course. I'm actually pretty famous, depending on which neck of the woods you're in. And this, my friend, is the Inner Fighter 7 Revolution, or IF-7R for short. Saejima asks, the IF-7R? Minamita says, the IF-7R is the arcade machine of the future, and I invented it. And he laughs. Saejima says, I don't get it. How could a machine be a game? This just looks like a fancy torture device. Minamita says, how rude! This machine is the invention of the century. The IF-7R provides the ultimate arcade experience. It allows realistic battles in a virtual world. Saejima does not know what to say, and then says to himself, I have absolutely no idea what this guy is talking about. Minamita laughs. Just give it a try and you'll understand. One game is 10,000 yen. Anybody can play as long as they have the dough. Saejima says, I don't know what this thing does, but I can't see a reason to spend that much on a machine. Minamita says, think about it the other way around. You're getting a 10,000 yen experience. Not so bad, right? Very well, I will explain in detail. To play, you must first input information on your enemy. However, the only information you can input is that of particularly strong enemies, ones who made a lasting impression on you. If you input an enemy and are victorious against him, you become stronger. Nifty, don't you think? But some punks broke the machine, and now that feature no longer works. I will need some money to be able to fix it, and that's where you come in. Would you mind donating some funds so I can repair and modify this baby? I might not look it, but I'm flat broke. Of course, there's something in it for you too. If the machine is upgraded, the player will be able to receive various bits of useful information. Please think it over. Sure, Christopher Lloyd will be back with a ton of money. Saejima says, huh? A homeless guy? Maybe I could ask him about the info dealer. Homeless guy with a beret. Okay. Saejima says, excuse me, I was wondering if I could ask you something. Panicked homeless man says, hey, you, come over here. Okay. Saejima asks, what happened? The panicked homeless man says, we'll talk later, just follow me. I guess we're following him. For reasons? Saejima calls, hold your horses, old man. Where the hell are you headed in such a hurry? Panicked homeless man says, it's the master. He's going to die if we don't do something. Saejima asks, the master? Panicked homeless man says, yeah, he's a famous old man around these parts. Been digging a hole down in the sewers for ages now. But enough chit-chat. We gotta hurry. Apparently we gotta hurry. Saejima asks, a manhole? You sure about this? Panicked homeless man says, it's the fastest way, just follow me. Saejima says, easier said than done, old man. How am I supposed to get through a manhole? Panicked homeless man says, I got a special tool for opening manhole covers. But you're bigger than a buffalo, so you probably don't even need it. Anyways, we ought to hurry. Come on. Well, that is a big hole. The panicked homeless man says, over there. Punk-like man says, enough bull, old man. It's time you told us the truth. We don't like to get rough with frail geezers, so do us a favour and start talking. The old man says, I can't let you go any further. All these years of hard work would have been for nothing. Punk-like man says, we know you're hiding tons of buried treasure back there. That's why you've been digging like this since the Stone Age. The old man says, there ain't no buried treasure. Now get the hell out of here. Punk-like man says, it's no fair if you hog all that money to yourself. Share the loot, why don't you, Grandpa? Punk-like man says, come on, this is taking too long. If you're not going to move, then we'll just have to move you. Panicked homeless man says, oh no, they're going to kill the master. You look like a pretty strong guy. Please get rid of those hooligans and save the master. Yeah, fine. Saejima says, I'll talk to him. The panicked homeless man says, really? Thank you, kind sir. The punk-like man says, listen, Gramps, tell us what we want to know, or it ain't the retirement home you're headed for. Got it? Saejima says, wait right there. You kids having fun picking on senior citizens? Ain't you supposed to care for the elderly? Punk-like man asks, who the fuck are you, huh? One of this guy's homeless friends? Saejima says, don't matter. Just let this whole thing go and get lost. Punk-like man says, so you're after the loot too? You think we don't know what's up? Saejima says, give me a break already. Kids these days don't know when to listen. Punk-like man says, enough talk. We're going to float both your geriatric corpses down the fucking sewer. Well, it's on like Donkey Kong again. Over here, my friend. Thank you. Punk-like man asks, who the hell is this guy? Some sort of monster or something? Damn it, this ain't the last you heard of us, old man. And they all run away. Saejima says, street punks and their cowardly lions never change. Old man says, you saved my life, thank you. Saejima says, thank this guy, not me. He's the one that was doing all the worrying. Relieved homeless man says, Master, you okay? Did they hurt you? Old man says, oh, it's you. Yeah, I'm all right. Relieved homeless man says, thank goodness. I was scared out of my mind. I owe you, sir. You really are something. By the way, what was your name again? Saejima says, Saejima. And you? Relieved homeless man says, people call me Ken-chan. And this here's the master. Master says, I didn't come up with that nickname, but call me whatever you want. Saejima asks, so why were them punks after you anyways? Master says, been down here looking for a certain something important. But then those hoodlums showed up, spouting nonsense about buried treasure and the like. Something important, Saejima asks, something important. The master says, yep, ain't even sure what it is exactly. My father only told me about it on his deathbed. Said he buried something important beneath the streets of Kamurocho. Saejima says, I see. Master says he told me the general location, but we got more sewers and newfangled underground malls cropping up every day. Makes things harder to find. Saejima asks, so you mean he buried whatever it is before all this was built? Master says, exactly. I reckon during the war. Saejima says, wow, that's a long time ago. So how many years you been digging? The master says, well, I heard from my father about it when I was 50, so I reckon maybe 25 years, give or take a few. Saejima says, 25 years. Ken-chan says, Master, this guy's pretty strong. How about asking him to help you dig? Master says, and why would I do that? Ken-chan says, you've been saying your back hurts, right? And you're not getting any younger. Master says, oh, shut your trap. I still got it in me. Ken-chan says, you don't have to be so hard-headed. Saejima-san, will you help the master dig? Please? Saejima asks, you really been digging this hole for 25 years? Master says, pretty much. Saejima looks away into the middle distance and then says, I see. Well, I'll help whenever I've got the time. The master says, seriously, kid? You ain't even involved. Might not be anything in it for you either. Saejima says, consider it karma. Plus, haven't had a good workout since coming to Kamurocho. Don't worry about it. Ken-chan says, perfect. You might just find what you're looking for before you pass on, Master. The master says, will you quit talking about me dying already? Jeez. Saejima, was it? I may talk a lot, but I can't stop the years from piling on. Honestly, this old man would be really happy if you lent a hand, even if it's only for a little. Saejima nods. Got it. I'll come by and help when I can. Master says, thank you, son. I'm in your debt. Ain't much of a reward, I guess, but do you know about revelations? Saejima asks, revelations? Master says, yep. Revelations allow you to learn new techniques by observing various events around town. Might just be able to discover something new if you capture those decisive moments in material form. Saejima says, but I don't have a camera. Never been much good with machines anyway. Master says, same here. Couldn't afford it either. That's why I use these babies. Saejima says, a hammer and chisel? Master says, I'll give you some good carving wood too. Use that there hammer and chisel to carve the events you see. Ask Ken-chan about what's going on above ground. He may have some good information. Saejima says, I think I get it. I'll give it a try. Hey, we got a wood carving set. That's all been added as a memo. Saejima thinks to himself, well, it looks like I've settled things here. Time to investigate that legendary info dealer. Wonder if any of the homeless might know something. What is in here? Just curious, but no. Nothing straight off the bat. Oh well, we will pop back down later and see if we can find anything. Why does someone have a bucket tied off down there? Food distributor asks, hey man, look for something to eat. Wait, you don't have any points. Saejima asks, points? Don't you guys take money? Food distributor says, nope, we only take special points you use down here in the underground. If you want to learn more about them, go ask the guy at the top of the stairs over there. If you say so. Which would be this bloke. I would say, Shifty Man says, hey there, buddy. Not too often I see guys like you down in a place like this. Let me guess. You're concerned about the slow deterioration of our natural environment, so you've come to me, the expert on all things grassy and green. Saejima says, actually, Shifty Man continues, relax, big guy, I won't bite, but I will drop a big old knowledge bomb on you. You know how much trash gets collected in Kamurocho in a year? 22,000 tons. 60 tons every single day. That's as much as 2 humpback whales every day. And that doesn't include the litter strewn around town that nobody bothers to pick up, which, trust me, is a lot. So, I've devoted my life to making this city as clean as possible. Yes. Saejima says, and? The man says, Saejima asks, what's any of this have to do with me? The shifty man says, oh, right. Round here they call me the Mean Green Machine. No matter how high the trash stacks, I'll always be there to whisk it away. Speaking of, trash has something of a special value down here in the underground. Saejima asks, what do you mean, value? Mean Green Machine says, you heard me. Down here, trash makes the world go round. Ditch your cash, bring me some trash. I'll appraise whatever bits of trash you give me, and give you the appropriate number of points. Points are like our money, mind you. Here, take this. We got eco points. Mean Green Machine continues, with points you can buy all sorts of stuff, items, food, equipment, though of course this only applies to the shops run down here in the sewers. Oh, and keep in mind, any trash you've got is worthless until I get my hands on it. Don't worry, I won't rip you off or nothing. One more thing. Just because you nab a piece of trash, that doesn't mean it's gone forever. Someone's bound to litter again in the same spot if you wait long enough. Anyway, why don't you start with that little speck of smut over there? Just bring it on over to me. We got metal garbage. Yay! Mean Green Machine says, thanks for stopping by. What can I trash for you? You can appraise this metal garbage. 25 points. Okay. Right. Come back when you've got your hands on some more trash. And don't forget to have a clean day. Sure. What do you have in your store, sir? Oh, okay. Looks interesting. Obviously the way you get stuff you couldn't get elsewhere. Alright. Saejima thinks to himself, there's something here. We got Kamurocho Underground Locker Key A5. Yay. Oh. Yotsutani asks, what's with all the police today? Are they on a manhunt? Saejima says, Kanai says, all of Kamurocho has been on edge these past few days, like something bad's about to happen. Every year there's some new earth-shattering catastrophe. Is this city ever going to know peace? I would not know. Kokubu says, so there's this Yakuza tough named Midorikawa, right? He and his pals control the theatre underground. They were up to all kinds of shady business down there. That is, until a couple of days ago. This guy named Akiyama just strolls in and kicks him out. He didn't look like much, but he gave Midorikawa's keister a boot before any of these hooligans saw it coming. Goes to show you that you can't judge a book by its cover, and not all heroes wear capes. Nanako says, you're searching for the city's biggest info dealer, the Florist, right? Saejima says, if that's his name. Nakano says, that's what his clients call him anyway. It's because the info he sells gets delivered inside flower bouquets. Saejima says, sounds real romantic. So how's a guy meet this Florist? Nakano says, the thing is, no one really knows what with all the crazy stuff that's happened around here over the past few years. Seems like every time a major crisis hits the city, he uproots his headquarters and relocates. Saejima asks, any idea where he's planted himself now? Nakano says, don't know for sure, but there is a rumour going around. Saejima says, I'm listening. Nakano says, I heard you can get to his hideout through the back of the public restroom at West Park. Saejima asks, you mean the John at the north end of town? Nakano says, that's the one. I'd start there at West Park if I were you. Saejima says, alright, thanks. Tachikawa says, I gather you're looking for the underworld's top informant. Saejima says, sure am. Tachikawa says, well, there are plenty of rumours circulating about him, yet the man himself is hard to pin down. But he does have a number of homeless folks on his payroll. They collect intel and such. I've never met the guy, but I'd sure like to sometime. Good for you. Oh, we got some metal garbage. Look at that. Yeah, probably I probably agree with that. Right. Grab whatever this was. Cylindrical garbage. Ooh. Okay, our metal garbage this time is fair. So we got, they're both fair garbage. So one we got 250 points. Go us! Yay! What do you sell, sir? You sell pottage, soup, stew, mystery meat, 5-star leftovers. Oh, I just can't do it. Sorry. As lovely as it all sounds, you know, just yeah, no. Right, now we need to go see the Florist. Saejima thinks to himself, West Park's crapper still ought to be to the northeast. I would agree with you there, sir. So, why don't we head on over there? Being careful to avoid the blue healers, of course. You mean that's the last time I ate sewer cheese? You thought it was a good idea to eat sewer cheese in the first place? Okay. Anyway, man says, congratulations, you're lucky number 100. Yes, sirree. Wait, what's with the vacant stare? 100th what, you ask? Why, our 100th victim, of course. Come on, boys, get him. Oh. That'll teach me to think I'm just going to upend him over the other bloke. Oh, you went high, look at that. Man says, I guess it was a little early to be celebrating. Here, take this, And for crying out loud, get lost. We got a heavy Torriner. Yay. Sorry. Yes, police sirens just make me a little bit nervous right now. Okay, we're back outside the dunny. Saejima thinks to himself, back to square one. I gotta figure out how to dig up dirt on that hotshot info broker everyone's yapping about. Sure, give me attitude right now, sir. That seems like a very good idea. So, homeless people. Where would homeless people congregate? Tis a puzzlement. Cylindrical garbage, go us. Gee, that's a lot of people walking this way. At least they're not bearing placards and chanting slogans. Man says, excuse me, but would you mind giving me your wallet? There's no telling what kind of unpleasantness will happen to you if you don't. I'm not the one wearing sunglasses at midnight, sir. Oh, that was not bad for a completely blind shot. Man says, I'm sorry, please forgive me. Here, take this as a peace offering. We got a sensible Torriner Plus. Yay. Parks. Parks would be my first guess. I mean, there probably won't be police patrolling around up here, will there? Why are you wearing your barrister's wig at midnight out in the middle of Tokyo? You know what? I don't particularly want the answer to that. We'll just dump some of this stuff in the item box. particularly the puny ones. You just do heat, which is like, no thank you. That should do. After all, inventory management is a blight on the playthrough. Okay. Perhaps M's store has milk. Hello. Do you have milk? Miso paste cucumber. Okay. You do have milk. Look at that. Well, there are two of them, so we should probably take two. Hang on, didn't Popo have catnip or something like that? Let's find out next time when you're a Popo. Yes, thank you very much. Yes, sorry. Just vacate. Tsurumi says, so that was the Florist of Sai. Saejima says, hey, what did you just say about the florist? Tsurumi asks, what? Nothing at all. Saejima says, I know what I heard. Don't lie to me. Tsurumi says, please cut me some slack. Around here, a slip of the tongue could cost a guy, well, his tongue, or his life. Saejima says, relax, I ain't no snitch. Tsurumi says, well then, if I let you in on my secret, do you promise not to tell anyone? Sure. Saejima says, I promise, won't tell us all. Tsurumi says, okay, I guess I'll trust you. Keeping it a secret is killing me anyway. I'm on a city crew that was doing some work on the manhole over in Children's Park. That's when I found it. Saejima asks, found what? Tsurumi replies, a subterranean pleasure district, but they only let in the super rich, and even then just a select few elites. I thought it was all an urban legend, but it's real. Saejima asks, how'd you find it? Tsurumi says, well, I was sneaking a nap down in the manhole when I heard someone come in. Saejima asks, who? Tsurumi says, I think it was the big cheese himself, the Florist of Sai. He's the info broker who calls the shots down there. He was wearing some real flashy clothes, the kind you see on magazines in the waiting room at the dentist's office. He hasn't seen a dentist's office in 25 years, mate. Anyway, Saejima says, and? Tsurumi says, he kept on going down the tunnel until he disappeared. When I took a look later, I found a door at the end. Saejima asks, where's it go? Tsurumi says, dunno, I didn't open it. Saejima says, hell, why not? Tsurumi says, it was a really heavy door. I couldn't get it to budge. I bet there's some trick to it only the florist knows. If the rumours are true about the florist are true, I'd rather keep my nose on my face than poke it where it doesn't belong. Saejima does not know what to say. Tsurumi says, then again, that stuff's all hearsay and tabloid gossip. No idea where the legend ends and the truth begins. All I know is what I saw with my own eyes. Just remember, you promised to keep this a secret. Saejima says, don't worry, I ain't telling no one. Saejima says, assuming this guy ain't feeding me a big crock of shit, I ought to check out the manhole in Children's Park. Well, yes. Saejima says to himself, there's something here. We got Taikei Boulevard locker key D1. Worker Kawasaki says, something isn't right with that manhole. Worker Omori says, I know it's creeping me out. I keep hearing noises coming from beyond the blocked off area. Worker Kawasaki says, yeah, me too. If I didn't know any better, I'd swear I saw footprints leading in and out of the darn thing. Worker Omori says, oh, they're real, but I took a closer look and get this. They're not work boots like ours, they're dress shoes. Saejima asks himself, what are dressed up folks doing crawling around Manhole? Well, let's go to the children's park and try to answer the question, shall we? Noodle-armed homeless man says, I usually sleep down there, but I stepped away for a hot minute and someone sealed it off. You need special tools to get it open. That will be stronger than a bear. Can't believe I forgot my dang tools down there. Manholes. To get to locations while avoiding police detection, move along rooftops or through the sewers. Saejima can also open certain manholes and move through the underground. Use these secret paths to complete your objectives swiftly and secretly. You can view manhole locations on your map, as well as on the mini-map. And that's all the memo. Noodle-armed homeless man says, I'll just have to get in when the lid's opened up again. Last time I had to wait 3 days. I hope it won't be that long this time. We gained 500 experience points. Upstart Yakuza says, I knew you were a lost cause. I'm talking about cold hard cash here. I've got no use for you without it. Seasoned Yakuza says, ugh. Saejima steps in and says, the hell do you think you're doing? It don't take a genius to figure out you two are Yakuza. Upstart Yakuza says, keep moving, arsehole. This is none of your damn business. Saejima says, it is now. We've got dozens of eyes on you out here, and none of them want to see you mess this guy up. The seasoned Yakuza says, I appreciate what you're trying to do, sir, but stay out of this, please. It really has nothing to do with you. I deserve everything that's coming to me. Saejima says to himself, this guy can't be serious. Seasoned Yakuza says, I'm sorry, Katagiri-san. I'll get the money as soon as I can. Just please, have mercy on me, sir. You know, you can pay dominatrixes to do this for you in private, right? Anyway. Katagiri says, ugh, way to go and take all the fun out of this. Listen, Irie, you still owe us 500,000 in tribute. If you don't pay up quick, you're going to be paying with your pinky. You got that? So he's walked away and the older bloke has gotten himself up. Saejima says, Irie-han, is it? What was all that about? Irie asks, who are you? Saejima says, don't matter, just the next Yakuza looking out for one of his own. Irie says, huh, you must have been pretty famous if you don't want me knowing your name. Saejima says, look, just forget it, yeah. Now tell me, what was that punk beating up on you for? Irie says, it's actually kind of embarrassing. You see, Katagiri-san and I belong to a family with an office down Tenkaichi Alley. I asked for more time to come up with my unpaid family tribute, but it seems to have rubbed in the wrong way. Saejima says, Katagiri, huh? Clearly you got a few years on him, not to mention boatloads more class. How'd a guy like that end up your boss? Irie says, I am older, yes, and have spent at least a decade longer in the family, but Katagiri-san is the patriarch's wonder boy. Saejima asks, him? You don't say. Irie says, it's not surprising. Katagiri-san rakes in by far the most cash for the family. Saejima says, it's like chasing yen is all Yakuza could think about nowadays. Irie says, "Welcome to the 21st century, friend. Organised crime is nothing more than a chess game with money as the ultimate prize. Old-school fist-hurlers like me don't have a place in that intellectual stuff. More and more we're just weighing our families down." Saejima says, "I don't believe that for a second. Why don't you just smack that sack around a bit? He'll change his tune." Irie says, "Not a chance. Katagiri-san has helped my family grow almost exponentially, and besides, he's my superior, regardless of how he got there. There's no fighting that." Saejima says, "Guess I can't argue with you there. Sorry for butting into your family matters." Irie says, "It's all right, and really I do appreciate the concern. Now, if you'll excuse me, I need to go drum up some cash. Quick." And I'd assume he would run off, but no, he just sort of waddles off. Saejima says to himself, "Money, money, 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 money. This world's even colder than I remember." Irie said his family office is down Tenkaichi Alley, right? Might be worth paying them a visit. Quite possibly. But we are right here, so let's go rip that manhole cover off and see if we can find the florist. Now, you lot are just going to bugger off, aren't you? Saejima says to the little people having the coffee morning around the manhole cover, "I need to get down that manhole. You're in my way." Tatekawa says, "Yo, this is our turf. We don't have to do shit for you." Yoshioka laughs and says, "I get it. I bet Pops here lives down there." Kasuno says, "Like a sewer rat? That's freaking hilarious." Saejima just says nothing. Tatekawa says, "We'll let you through, but you'll have to pay the toll to get into this hole." Saejima asks, "And if I don't?" Kasuno laughs and says, "Then we'll beat you into a bloody pulp." Yoshioka says, "That's right, so I suggest you just pay up, Pops." Saejima says, "What a joke." Tatekawa says, "Excuse me? You just screwed with the wrong crew." Saejima says, "Shut your trap and let's go. I want to see you try and beat me to a bloody pulp." Kasuno says, "You asked for it, old man." So it's on again. Over here, you. That's right. Perfect. And we leveled up. Look at that. Oh, your pristine white tracksuit is slightly soiled, sir. Tatekawa says, "Sorry, no more, please." Kasuno says, "Yeah, we don't want any more trouble." Saejima says, "Just shut up and step aside, and I don't want to see you around Kamurocho no more." Tatekawa says, "Yes, sir, we're out of here." And they bugger off. Probably a wise choice. Would have been wiser if they'd done it first. Oh, we got soft garbage this time. Lucky us. Saejima can enter manholes. He can access the underground routes from these manholes and go to various areas in Kamurocho. That's useful. And we are in the North Sewer. We got some metal garbage this time. A self-proclaimed treasure hunter says, "Oh, you're out here treasure hunting too?" He laughs. "You can't just look at treasure like you're better than it. That just isn't right. You've got to just focus on it. Be the treasure. When you become the treasure, you can hear it talking to you, whispering sweet nothings that only another treasure can hear." Another perspective. During your adventure, you can enter first-person mode with the R3 button. Once you enter this mode, you'll step into the shoes of the main character, and you might even then discover something new that you didn't see before. Whenever you get to a spot that piques your interest, enter first-person mode and take a look around. That is a memo. The self-proclaimed treasure hunter goes on. You got that? Focus and look around, and laugh some more. We got 500 experience. Hey. We got some plastic garbage. Yay. Elderly Drunk says, "I heard one heck of a racket topside. Something happened." Saejima says, "Don't look at me. Probably just some assholes in a bar fight." The Elderly Drunk says, "A likely story. You're new in town, huh? Well, just see that you don't bring any trouble down here. We don't have anywhere else to go, you know." Saejima has nothing to say. The Elderly Drunk laughs. "I'm just pulling your leg. Take it easy now." Conspiracy Theorist asks, "Did you hear about that death row inmate who broke out of maximum security and fled to Kamurocho?" Displaced Worker says, "I've had just about enough of your crackpot rumours. If that were true, there'd be policemen everywhere." The Conspiracy Theorist says, "No, it's totally legit. There's this black site in Okinawa where they hold only the worst and most violent felons. But since it's a government secret, law enforcement has to keep things hush-hush if anyone breaks out. If the media caught wind of this, it'd be a PR nightmare. That's why a classified task force is leading the manhunt." The Displaced Worker says, "You can keep your crazy-ass conspiracy theories. It's always inside job this and cover up that. No wonder you can't hold down a steady job." The Conspiracy Theorist says, "Fine, don't believe me, but don't say I didn't warn you." Saejima thinks to himself, "Folks are already blabbing about my getaway all the way out here in Tokyo. Best keep a low profile." Apparently so. We got some cylindrical garbage. Oh, Purgatory's back. Look at that. Saejima says, "The hell is with this place?" An unknown person says, "Ah, there you are." Saejima asks, "Who in the goddamn..." The Florist says, "I've been waiting for you, Taiga Saejima." Saejima's gone up to the desk, and the Florist says, "While you've been looking for me, I've had my eye on you. So, is there something you wanted to ask me?" Saejima says, "Yeah." We'll ask about Purgatory first. "So what's the deal with this Purgatory joint?" Florist says, "You know that entertainment area you saw as you came in?" Saejima says, "Kinda hard to miss." The Florist says, "Well, I built it myself years ago. What you see, I created. Kamurocho's rich and famous come here from all quarters for a taste of the pleasures they can't get above ground. We cater to every taste, no matter how decadent: gambling, sex, things of that nature. Normally, potential clients are carefully screened before I let them in, though I've made an exception in your case. But these pleasures are going to cost you. Just be careful the place doesn't suck you in. Don't forget you're a man on a mission. Saejima says, time for some answers. Folks call you some kind of info broker. The florist says that they do. I'm a dealer, and the drug I sell is intel. Information on everything that goes down in Kamurocho eventually reaches my ears one way or another. I have a network of informers at my fingertips and surveillance cameras mounted all over town. I've got eyes in every nook and cranny. You being here means that there's something you want to know, something only I can find out for you. Saejima says, yeah, I'm looking for Hideki Sasai, patriarch of the Sasai family, or at least he was back in 85. Know where he's at? The florist says, I do, but my intel doesn't come cheap. Saejima says, name your price. The florist says, let's say 10 million yen. Saejima asks, that a joke? I ain't holding that kind of cash, but you already knew that, didn't you? The florist says, of course. I wouldn't be much of an info dealer if I didn't. But you do have another option. There's something you can do for me instead. Saejima asks, yeah, let's hear it. The florist laughs and says, follow me. So we are followed into the Colosseum. Saejima asks, what kind of place is this? The florist says, the underground Colosseum. Only VIP members are allowed to spectate the fights here. Saejima says, I'm guessing you're not inviting me to watch. The florist says, exactly. I want you to enter the exhibition deathmatch I'm holding. Saejima asks, deathmatch? The florist laughs. That's right, a bona fide deathmatch. Not like that fake crap they show on TV. 2 fighters enter the ring, only one walks out alive. Saejima has nothing to say. The florist says, I'm not going to force you against your will, but if you can't pay, this is your only option to obtain that info on your old boss. Saejima says, fine, I'm in. The florist says, it's settled then. There's only one rule. Weapons and medicines are strictly forbidden during the match. Now, I suggest you go prepare yourself. Come see me when you're ready to begin. Okay, so we can upgrade abilities. I'm going to take the Phoenix Spirit this time. The Phoenix Spirit automatically fills up the heat gauge if your health gauge is flashing red. What else can we get? We can get... guard. Swiftly regain your guard in tight situations where your guard has been broken. Press L1 when your guard is broken. Okay, now items. We need to... Toughness Z. Yeah, that doesn't do a lot, does it? Sponsored sushi will do just fine to finish the rest off. Probably should have just used that. But anyway, it's a thing. Going to just set a little save here and talk to the florist. The florist asks, I take it you're ready to enter the Colosseum? Yep, I'm ready. As we can be. Saejima says, yep, I'm ready. The florist says, right then, let's go.
3632回カムロ町地下闘技場トーナメント。ここで優勝者のエキシビションデスマッチを行います。青コーナーより挑戦者冴島大河の入場です。25年前たった一人で敵対する組織に立ち向かい18人もの極道者をこの世から消し去った伝説のヒットマン、裏切りと復讐の脱獄囚冴島大河。赤コーナーよりチャンピオンの入場です。この男が闘技場に姿を現してから約半年間百戦無敗、幾多の戦争をくぐり抜けた不死身の男、地下闘技場現チャンピオンイワン・イブラヒモビッチ。この試合特別ルールで行います。この戦いにドローはありません。どちらかの死をもって勝敗を決める非常のデスマッチ。今ゴングです。
Or Ivan, if we fought all those fights to come here and lose to some bloke who hasn't seen daylight for 25 years. Come on, Ivan. Yes, I pressed the square button instead of the X button there. No, Ivan! And he's down!
一人増えても問題ない言うたやつはお前か。お前かい。お前ら殺せ殺せ言うてるけどもやな、こん中でほんまに人殺した奴がおるんかこら。ええか、教えといたるわ。人を殺すっちゅうんはな、人を殺すっちゅうんはな、ごっつ怖いもんなんじゃ。25年前のあの日から俺は毎日必ず夢を見る。18人殺した日の夢や、殴った奴の方の感触、骨が砕ける瞬間の音、悲鳴、死んでいった奴の顔、全部が事細かに夢に出る。死んだ人間の家族に申し訳ないとかそんなんは当然思う。そやけどな、そんなもんちゃうね。人を殺したらな、殺した人間は恐怖から逃げられへんね。毎日毎日怖い思いせなあかんね。それがどんなに苦しいことかお前らにわかるか。くだらんこんな勝負は。俺は降りる。
Well, I would have said they would have hung us high whether the total was 18 or 19, but that's probably a better way to do it. And it's also probably the best time to call an end of this episode. So if you've made it this far, thank you very much for watching. We hope you have a wonderful day, and we will see you in the next episode.